What your Chiron placement says about your core wound. Hey, welcome back. Or if you're new here, hi, I'm Desiree. I talk about astrology, not the you're going to be the tall, dark stranger kind. I'm talking about the deep stuff, the stuff that actually helps you understand why you keep doing the same painful thing over and over. And today, we're talking about Chiron. Now, I know you probably know your sun, moon, and rising, maybe Venus. But Chiron? Most people have no idea where their Chiron is. And honestly, that's tragic because your Chiron placement will explain more about your life patterns than anything else in your chart, or almost. So here's the thing. We all have a wound, not like metaphorically, I mean an actual psychological wound that formed early in life and keeps getting triggered that we try to heal, but it never really goes away. That's Chiron. And before you click away thinking, ugh, more trauma work, hear me out. Because the paradox of Chiron is this: that wound that you've been trying to hide, that's actually your superpower. The thing that wounded you is the exact thing that makes you be able to help others do the same. Wild, right? So in this video, I'm going to talk about all the 12 Chiron placements. I'm going to tell you what your core wound is, how it shows up, and how it's actually a healing gift to the world. If you don't know your Chiron placement, I'll link a calculator in the description. It takes like 2 minutes. Find it, come back, and skip to your sign. I've got timestamps. And if this resonates, let me know your Chiron sign in the comments. I love hearing from you, and I read every single one. Okay, let's dive in. So, what is Chiron? I'll do a quick mythology lesson that I promise is relevant. Chiron was this centaur, half man, half horse, but unlike other centaurs, Chiron was a kind, wise healer. He trained all the famous Greek heroes like Achilles. But one day, he got hit by a poisoned arrow. And because he was immortal, he couldn't die from it, but he also couldn't heal it. So he lived with this chronic, unhealable wound for the rest of his life. And yet, and this is the most important part, he kept healing others. He became the greatest healers precisely because he understood pain from the inside. And that's you. That's all of us. We all have this Chiron wound, this place where we feel fundamentally broken or not enough. And we spend so much energy trying to fix it. But what if that wound is actually what qualifies you to help others? What if the thing you think disqualifies you is actually your whole purpose? Okay, enough philosophy. Let's get into the signs. All right, if you have Chiron in Aries, your core wound is basically, I don't have the right to exist as myself. I know, heavy. But let me explain what this looks like in real life. You probably have a hard time saying no. Apologize for everything, including existing. You don't know who you actually are because you've been shape shifting for everyone else. You either suppress your anger completely or it explodes. I have a friend with this placement, and she told me she didn't know what kind of coffee she liked until she was 30. Crazy, right? Because she always just ordered whatever the person she was with wanted. That's how deep this goes. Usually you had a parent or authority figure who was really dominant. Like there was no room for you or your anger. So you learn to be safe. I have to disappear. You have to practice existing loudly, even in small ways. Order what you want, say what you think. Stop apologizing for taking up space. Once you reclaim your right to exist, you become the person who gives everyone else permissions to be themselves unapologetically. You're the one who says, be as big as you are. It's allowed. And honestly, we need that. Taurus, your wound is, I'm not safe. I'll never have enough. And this was interesting because it's not always about actual money, though it can be. It's this deep, visceral feeling that the rug could be pulled from underneath you at any moment. You might check your bank account obsessively, feel anxious even when you're objectively fine, have a hard time receiving gifts or compliments, feel disconnected from your body, like you're not at home in it. Often there was real instability, like actual poverty or housing insecurity. Or there was this emotional starvation where your needs just weren't met. So your nervous system is like, nothing is safe, nothing is enough. You have to build in safety in your body, not your bank account. Grounding practices, like putting your feet on the ground every single day, learning to feel safe in the present moment. You develop this profound wisdom about what true security is, and you help people understand that their worth isn't about what they produce or own. That's powerful, especially in our capitalism obsessed world. Chiron in Gemini, your wound is my voice doesn't matter. No one understands me. If you have this, you probably feel perpetually misunderstood. Like you can explain something 5 different ways and people still don't get it. Or you get talked over constantly. You might go silent in groups because why bother? Or over explain everything. It can also show up as having imposter syndrome about your intelligence or feeling like you're speaking a different language than anyone else. I know someone with this who said she kind of felt like she was screaming underwater her whole life, like nobody could hear her. That's Chiron in Gemini. Usually you were silenced as a kid, saying things like children should be seen, not heard type of energy. Or you had a learning difference and felt stupid. So you internalize, my voice doesn't matter. You have to start speaking your truth, even if nobody understands, even if nobody's listening, because your voice has value because it's yours. So you become an incredible communicator and translator. You help people who feel unheard finally articulate what they mean. You're the bridge. Chiron in Cancer. Oof. This is the wound of, I'm not safe to need anyone. I can't be nurtured. This one gets me because if you have this, you probably either overgive compulsively or you refuse to let anyone help you, ever. You might feel emotionally unsafe, even when safe people have major mother wounds. Never feel like you belong anywhere. Push people away when you need them most. This placement often comes from emotional neglect or an unavailable caregiver, like home wasn't a safe haven. It was a place where you had to protect yourself. You have to learn to mother yourself and then slowly let people in. Not everyone, only the people who've proven themselves. You become this incredible safe space for others. You create the emotional sanctuary you never had. People feel held by you in a way they've never experienced. Chiron in Leo, your wound is, I'm too much and I'm not special enough. It's usually one or the other, sometimes both at once. You either feel invisible or like you have to dim yourself for everyone else. So you might stop yourself mid sentence saying things like, never mind, it's not important, or have creative blocks because what's the point? Feel jealous when others get celebrated. Perform for love instead of just being loved. It's like the kid who was told, stop showing off when they were just being joyful, or the person whose light was too bright for their family, so they learned to make themselves smaller. Healing is giving yourself permission to shine, even if it feels too narcissistic, because it's not. Your light doesn't diminish anyone else's. You become the person who celebrates everyone else's wins genuinely. You give people permission to be big, bright, and unapologetically themselves. Chiron in Virgo. Oh, friend, your wound is, I'm fundamentally flawed. I'll never be good enough. If you have this, you know that inner critic I'm talking about. The one that tells you everything you do is wrong, that you need to be fixed, that you're broken. So you might have impossible standards for yourself, work until you're exhausted trying to be perfect, obsess over health or symptoms, feel like everyone else has it figured out except you. But here's the thing. This usually comes from criticism or perfectionism in childhood. Love was conditional on being good or performing well, so you internalize, I'm not good enough as I am. You have to practice radical self acceptance, not self improvement, self acceptance. Good enough is enough. You help people see their wholeness, not just their flaws. You teach that perfection isn't the goal, integration is. And honestly, we all need to hear that. Chiron in Libra, your wound is, I'm unlovable. I lose myself in relationships. If you have this, relationships are probably your biggest teacher and your biggest wound. Maybe you don't know who you are outside of relationships. You people please to avoid conflict, attract imbalanced partnerships where you give more, feel incomplete without a partner. You probably saw unhealthy relationship dynamics growing up and learned that love meant sacrificing yourself. Or you experienced rejection that confirmed, I'm only lovable if I become what they need. You have to become whole on your own first. Learn what you want. Set boundaries without guilt. You teach people how to be in relationships without losing themselves, how to be both autonomous and connected. That's very rare, but definitely needed. Chiron in Scorpio. Your wound is, it's not safe to be powerful. Intimacy will destroy me. This is heavy, and I want to honor that. If you have this, you've probably experienced betrayal, power abuse, or violations of trust. You might have a really hard time trusting anyone fully. Feel like your intensity or power is dangerous. Have wounds around sexuality or deep intimacy. You build walls that even you can't get through. Usually there was an abuse of power. Someone violated your boundaries or used their power to hurt you. So you learned that power destroys and intimacy isn't safe. You have to reclaim your power safely and learn that intensity isn't dangerous when it's yours to give. Find people who can hold your depth. You become a guide to others through their darkest transformations. You can sit with people in crisis without flinching. That's a rare gift. Chiron in Sagittarius, your wound is life has no meaning. My truth doesn't matter. If you have this, you might struggle with existential depression or the sense that nothing really means anything. So you might search desperately for meaning and find nothing. Have been wounded by religion or spiritual teachings. Feel trapped, even when you're physically free, or oscillate between faith and total cynicism. Often religious trauma, spiritual abuse, or you may have also experienced beliefs being dismissed, or maybe you witnessed meaninglessness in a way that shattered your ability to trust anything. You have to create your own meaning, not find it, but create it. You are the author of your own truth. You help others who are lost. You hold space for existential questions without forcing answers. You teach that meaning is created, not found. Chiron in Capricorn. Your wound is, I'll never be successful enough. I'm fundamentally inadequate. No matter what you achieve, it never feels like enough. You're always moving the goalpost. You might work yourself to exhaustion, have major father wounds, feel like you're a failure even when you're succeeding, struggle to rest because it feels like weakness. It could have come from harsh criticism or pressure to achieve from a young age. Maybe you had to grow up too fast, or love was tied to performance. For healing, you need to redefine success on your own terms and learn that rest is productive. You are worthy without achievement. You teach sustainable success, leadership with humanity. You help people achieve without having to sacrifice their souls. Chiron and Aquarius, your wound is, I don't belong anywhere. I'm too different. If you have this, you've probably felt like an outsider your whole life, like the weird kid who just never quite fit in. You might feel like an alien observing humans, have trouble finding your people, either hide your uniqueness or weaponize it. Feel lonely, even in groups. This could have come from bullying, being ostracized, being punished for being different. So you learned that being myself means being an exile. But you have to embrace your weird, find your people, and belong to yourself first in order to heal. You create spaces where everyone's uniqueness is celebrated. You champion the misfits. We need that. And last one, Chiron in Pisces. Your wound is, I'm too sensitive. I don't have boundaries. If you have this, you feel everything. Other people's emotions, the world's pain, all of it. You might get overwhelmed in crowds, absorb others' feelings like a sponge, use escapism to cope, feel like reality is too harsh. It could have come from sensitivity that was shamed, or absorbing trauma that wasn't even yours. Nobody taught you how to have boundaries as an empath. So, to heal, you need to learn that boundaries aren't selfish. You can be sensitive and protected at the same time, ground into your body and this earth. You teach compassionate boundaries. You show people how to hold space without drowning in others' pains. That's huge. Okay, so here's what I want you to take away from this. Your Chiron wound is real. It's not just in your head. It's a pattern that got wired into you early and it keeps showing up. But, and this is an important but, you're not broken. You're wounded. There's a difference. Broken things need to be fixed or thrown away. Wounded things need to be held, honored, integrated. The goal isn't to make your wound disappear. It probably never will fully. The goal is to stop running from it, to turn toward it with compassion, and to let it become your medicine for yourself and others. Because the paradox of Chiron is that your wound is your qualification. The thing you think disqualifies you, that's actually what makes you uniquely able to help people who are suffering in the exact same way. So I want to ask you, what's your Chiron sign? And does this resonate? Drop it in the comments. I'm genuinely curious and I read every single one. Also, I made a free guide that goes way deeper into this. And if you got value from this, subscribe. I do videos like this every single week on astrology, shadow work, healing practices, the real stuff. All right, that's it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. Your wound is your portal. I'll see you in the next one.